Hello guys, I am going to do a little bit of a self-indulgent video here, if you will. I did the storytime video about my first 2 months in the van. I wanted this channel to sort of be about that journey, and I hadn't filmed the first 2 months, so I did like a story time about it so that could be included in the story. And I was thinking about it. I feel like that's really not actually the very beginning of the story. The beginning of the story is how I ended up in the van in the first place, why I was in that situation to begin with. And that is a mental health story. With that being said, I do want to say that this is not about van life. And so if it is not something you're interested in watching, please click off right now and I will see you next time. I love you and I fully understand it. I don't expect this video to get, more than maybe 10 views, but that's not what I'm putting it out there for. Here we go. My mental health journey started when I was 8 years old. At least that is the earliest memory I have with it. I was a latchkey kid. I would get home from school and I would be the only one there. And I had a ritual. It was definitely a routine. I would come home, I would walk upstairs to my bedroom, and I would immediately start throwing my stuffed animals around the room, screaming at the top of my lungs, crying, screaming at God. Why am I here? Why do you hate me so much? Why can't you take me from this place? Why did you create me? Why? I don't want to be here. Why? I was 8 years old. And I don't remember very much of my childhood, but I remember that. So this is something that goes way, way, way back. When I was 14 years old, I started to work, and that started my pattern, if you will, of starting a job, doing really good at it, and then always, every time, without fail, usually within the first year, there would come a day where I just couldn't do it. Either I would not even be able to leave my house, or I would drive all the way there, I would get to the parking lot, and I would try to get out and go. Fulfill your responsibilities, woman, or child at the time. Every time, there would just come that day that I couldn't talk myself into walking through the door. By the time I was in my 20s, I realized I was not a normal person insofar as my capabilities. Like, I found out it wasn't normal for people to drive to a store and then have to sit in the parking lot convincing themselves to get out of the car because you didn't want to impose yourself on human beings. Other humans were going to have to exist in the same space with you, and that made you feel guilty because I am so sorry that you have to be in the same space with me right now. I know that must be awful for you. I felt like I was going to do something negative to them just by being in the aisle with them. And I slowly started learning things like that were not normal. That was not something that people typically dealt with. So I started therapy in my mid-20s. And I spent the next 10 years going through a few different therapists, a few different psychiatrists, trying every kind of medication that you can think of. Nothing ever really worked. Prozac helped a tiny bit. It helped me from being what I call in the well super often. I call it In the Well because it's that song, if any of you guys know who Patty Griffin is. We are swimming with the snakes at the bottom of the well, so silent and peaceful in the darkness where we dwell. But we are not snakes, and once more we never will be. And if we stay swimming here forever, we will never be free. So my really bad days I've always called being in the well. And it's about trying to get out of the well, constantly trying to get out of the well, because I am not a snake, and I never will be, and that is not where I belong. But I would still always end up back in the well. That's just my fate in life. It's like Groundhog Day. I can work really hard to climb those very slippery, cold, broken rungs to get to the top of the ladder and get out of the well, and be out of the well for a couple of days. And it's amazing. But eventually, usually sooner than later, I will end up waking up back in the well. Prozac was the only thing that ever made things just a tiny, tiny bit bearable, but certainly did not get rid of the well. And nothing else that I ever took really even made a dent in anything. So after maybe a decade of that, I basically gave up on traditional mental health care. After a full decade of trying and having virtually no relief in any way other than through that one medication. Editing me here to say that I forgot that there was one other medication that did give me some relief, but I was a big old dorky dorkerton. I had one psychiatrist that I saw who believed that there might be some ADHD involved. I only saw him for a short minute. He prescribed ADHD meds to me. I think it was Adderall. It actually worked really well in the doing capacity of things, showering, doing things. But I thought that I had studied mental health probably longer than this PhD had, and I did not have ADHD because ADHD is hyperactive boys, and that is not me. I am a very lazy girl. I just genuinely thought I knew better than him, and so I thought even though the medication was like helping me, I thought it's just because, it's speed, and who doesn't like speed? And I was afraid to get hooked on the drugs, so I ended up just stopping to take the drugs. And it wasn't until about a decade and a half later, maybe, I found out what ADHD actually is, and then thought, hey man, maybe I should try the meds again. But by then I had done so much damage to my health that I cannot take those drugs because they make my heart do weird things. I knew better than the doctor, and I suffered for it. Yes, you should advocate for yourself as a patient 100%. You definitely should, and this does not override that. I'm just saying, sometimes the doctor is right. Believe it or not. But I did not give up on fixing my mental health because I was still in a lot of pain. I embarked on a journey of trying all the different things that people talk about that you should try. Went on a spiritual journey, meditation, yoga, trying to look at it from a bigger lens. I wanted to believe if I smudged my house, it would feel clean and pure. I wanted to believe that so much. I wanted to believe that yoga was gonna stretch my muscles in such a way that now my brain knew what to do. I wanted to believe so bad. So I tried for a really long time. I did try religion, although that was earlier. Some of this might be messed up chronologically speaking, because I do have, fuzzy brain syndrome. But I do remember there was a time when I thought religion would be the answer. And so I read all the main holy books, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, a book about Huna, which is a Hawaiian religion, the Bhagavad Gita. I was searching for, maybe God can help me. I wanted to get all the different perspectives, and I was trying to find God and maybe bring me some sort of healing. I still kept waking up in the well. So I was trying all of these different things, still trying to fix myself. Editing me again, I forgot another thing that I went whole hog on. Went all in on diet and exercise. Spent more than a year being very, very good. Micronutrients, macronutrients, carbs, and, balancing and exercising and the whole thing. And I lost a whole bunch of weight. I might have been a little bit of a hottie. You didn't know. I might have been. And it not only did not help my mental health, it freaked me the F out. I didn't like it. Suddenly I was visible in the world again, and I did not like that. After I had lost this significant amount of weight, and I started feeling pretty good about the way that I looked in the mirror, and then I started getting pretty freaked out about the way that I looked in the mirror, and then I started eating again, and I stopped exercising, and I gained all the weight back. The point of the story is that, yes, I do believe that eating right and all of that is good. It's good for you. It's very important for you. I don't believe that it's the cure. I tried it. I did it for well over a year, was very good about it, and it did absolutely nothing for my mental health. So that was not going to be the fix either. None of it really made any dent at all. So I think I just kind of decided I was just going to live with it. I was still at that time functioning, and I even met somebody, and I thought I had figured out how to, if I couldn't cure myself, at least I had figured out how to manage it. So I thought that I was okay. I was in a situation that I would be in forever, and I know, it's really funny. I'm sorry, it's really funny now. Anytime an older person looks back on a woman or a younger person of any gender saying they thought they were going to be in that situation forever, it's hard not to laugh, even if you're laughing at your own damn self, because nothing lasts forever. Oh my gosh, if there is nothing else that we learn as we age, it is that. But I did think that was going to last forever and that I was going to be okay, so I decided to have a baby. I now have the most amazing daughter that anybody has ever had, and no, I am not biased. Get real. I'm just kidding. She is amazing though, and I really am incredibly lucky that I ended up with such a cool kid. And thank God for that, because the situation did not stay the same. Surprise, surprise, my guys. My daughter and I did end up on our own, but we were doing okay because while I was pregnant, I had started my own business doing virtual secretarial services for attorneys. I was making that work. I wasn't, going to make a lot of money with it, but I did make enough and was able to keep my daughter and I afloat for several years with that. Unfortunately, circumstances changed. My brain changed a lot. I did not know that mental illness could be a progressive disease. I just didn't know that. I didn't know that it could get worse. Like if you get your arm amputated, you learn to live without your arm, and it can be very, very difficult, but you can learn to manage without the arm. You don't have to keep relearning how to live because you've learned how to live without this arm. And so I thought I had learned to live without my arm. And I would be okay because I could do that. I didn't realize that with some of us anyway, mental illness can actually get worse. And mine did. And I didn't even realize that that's what was happening at the time. It's so insidious how it sneaks up on you. And you think you're just having a few bad days, or maybe you're sick and so you're extra tired, or maybe, an angel sneezed. Whatever, it was going to pass. Whatever this new thing I'm dealing with, it's going to pass. I started not being able to answer emails or phone calls. I couldn't. It sounds so silly to say I just couldn't, because obviously physically I could pick up the phone, push the button, but it was like there was something in my brain that just wouldn't let me do it. Stopped being able to cook full meals. And that eventually turned into just microwave meals for dinner. Couldn't shower regularly. I couldn't brush my teeth regularly. I certainly couldn't keep the house clean on a regular basis. I stopped being able to go out and do outing things. I had been taking my daughter to meetup groups and parks, all the normal things that you do as a mom. And I stopped being able to do that. We were just home all of the time. And I started having big time problems with transitions, any sort of transitioning of a state, wet to dry, inside to outside, alone to around people, in the car to out of the car. Any sort of transition that needed to happen was super difficult for me. I think that lent itself to having so much difficulty with leaving the house. Oh my gosh, leaving the house was, and still so difficult. Now it's my van, but I still have real big trouble with transitioning from one state of being to another. And that started around that time. Talked to friends and family less and less and less until it got to the point where I pretty much didn't talk to them at all. I did lose every friend I had and haven't talked to any of them since. I hope they're doing well. I was also having a lot of trouble with just concentration. Learning new things was basically impossible. Even things that seemed so easy, I just couldn't understand it. And it was really hard for me because I've always been a really fast learner. Even in school, I was kind of a piece of crap. I would sleep through half of my classes, skip a lot of classes. I would hardly pay any attention at all. And then I could just read the book right before the test and pass the test and know the information forever because I was just like a sponge for information. It was just so easy for me to learn something new. And now all of a sudden I tried to play Undertale, couldn't figure it out. I was not used to that. I'm supposed to be able to just read the book and know everything. What do you mean I can't figure out how to fight the monsters? It ruined any sort of fun I might have in learning new things, and it made it much more difficult for me to do my work. Now I was having a really hard time understanding the words that I was reading enough to make sure that it was all cohesive and made sense all the way through, which was part of my job. I was not catching an awful lot of mistakes that normally that was one of my big things people loved me for, was that I would catch all the little mistakes that they made. And now all of a sudden I was missing those. Tons and tons of those. I was always really proud of my intelligence and my grasp of grammar and things like that. And I really, I thought I was kind of hot shit when it came to that kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden I couldn't remember how to spell things, and I couldn't remember where commas go, and I couldn't learn new things, such easy things. I couldn't get it in my brain. What do you mean? How does that work? And I was forgetting everything. My past things that you told me 5 minutes ago, appointments, deadlines, everything. I just couldn't retain information. And all of this extended to things that I loved, every bit as much as it extended to things that I didn't love. Hobbies that I had always done, I could no longer pick them up. I just could not pick them up. I wanted to, I would try. And like from the outside looking in, it probably looked like I would just be sitting there peacefully looking at a TV screen or whatever all day long, just as chill as could be, while on the inside, it is a circus of destruction, begging, please, can you get up and do something? This is so boring, just sitting here. Please, just get up and do something. Make something to eat. Find something fun to do. Go for a walk. Get some work done. Whatever. Please, can you do something? Because this just sitting here and doing nothing is so boring, and it's like painful. I didn't even know that boredom could be painful, but it hurts. It's like the way cold can hurt. It's an aching. I don't know how to put it into words because it is such a weird feeling. The boredom becomes such a problem just on its own. How can I not do anything to alleviate this pain? What do you mean I can't get up off this freaking couch and just go do something? Clean the toilet. Whatever it is. Please, could you just do something? I had lost my ability to do. You guys, I couldn't do, y'all. As much as I wanted to, I couldn't do. It took about a year before I lost all my clients, but eventually they were all gone. And so was any semblance of self-esteem I may have ever had. It destroyed every ounce of worth that I believed I had. I mean, we live in a society that drills it into our head that you grow up, you work, you contribute to society, and then you die. That is the course for all of us. And if you can't, you better have a damn good reason why you can't. Otherwise, you are a piece of crap on the heel of society's shoe, and you must be scraped off at the earliest opportunity. And I had become that piece of crap on the bottom of society's shoe. And I was just this stinking, heavy weight. I was worth nothing. And that I just needed to be gone. But I couldn't be, because I was a mom. But I was a mom who couldn't do. I had to stick around because of my daughter, but I had to do that with this knowing that I was nothing and that I was just bad for the world. I decided, okay, the mental health has gotten worse, so maybe we should start trying to fix ourselves again. Maybe we should stop just, forgetting about it and, managing it, and maybe we should start again trying to heal it. But I still didn't have any faith in traditional mental health at that point. 10 years of being a guinea pig, on and off medications, side effects, withdrawals, the whole 9 yards, with no help whatsoever. So I decided I was going to try something new this time. First of all, I need to find a way to support us. Over the next couple of years, I tried so many things. I tried reselling. I would never be able to actually make myself do the taking the pictures, the measurements, getting it online. Maybe I can get lucky enough that I can actually sell some paintings and that'll do it. And then I could never actually make myself pick up the paintbrushes. Pick up the paintbrush! Pick up the paintbrush! Please pick up the paintbrush! I tried door dashing. I tried mystery shopping. I tried doing various things online. I tried everything I can think of that I would have a somewhat flexible schedule to do. The only thing that ever I was able to do a little bit, captioning videos. There's this company called rev.com where it is incredibly flexible. You can log in just whenever you want to log in and do work. I was able to do that and continued to do that for many years, off and on. It paid very, very, very little, and I was only able to make myself do it a little bit, but it did provide a small amount of income. So then I think, okay, all right, I'm going to be a jeweler. I get to play with fire and melt metal. That sounds fun. And I just thought, okay, that's something I can do. I don't know why, but I really thought I was gonna be able to do that. And I invested thousands of dollars of the savings that I had. Oh my God, why was I so dumb? Anyway, into buying stuff to make jewelry. I never made anything that I felt was actually worthy of selling. I hardly ever actually finished pieces. That ended up being another very expensive failure. And during all this time, I'm just steadily getting worse and worse and having more and more bad days. editing me in the library, so I have to be really quiet. But I forgot to mention that during this time, I was also going all in on like self-help stuff and hustle culture stuff because I thought maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need self-help and maybe I could hustle myself into a better place. Reading all the books, and I joined up for courses, and I like run the videos. That was another thing that I tried with all my heart and soul and put everything into it. I thought that Gary V, I thought he was going to save me. Gary V did not save me. Now my daughter sees it. I have always been fairly good at putting a happy face on the days that aren't super, super bad, so she didn't see a lot of it. Thank goodness. At least I hope. I mean, she's so smart. She probably saw more than I think she did. But she did see that I was declining. And my ex, my daughter's dad, was seeing it as well. They eventually suggested that perhaps we should move out of California because he knew that I had this particular part of California was never a place that I thought I was going to live for the rest of my life. And I was only here because I wanted my daughter to have her dad and her mom. And so they start talking about maybe it's time for you to find another place to live. Maybe that would help with your mental health. He was saying, happy mama makes a happy daughter. And if you can find some happiness somewhere else, then I think you'll be a better mom. And that's always been what I want more than anything, is to be a good mom, you know? So I said, okay, let's give it a try. I found Virginia. All the way across the country. Roanoke, Virginia, which is in the mountains. It's somewhat southern, so I was going to be able to get back to my southern roots a little bit. It is incredibly affordable, especially compared to California prices, and it is a big, long journey to get there, so I get to give my daughter this grand adventure. So we moved across the country. It was a grand adventure. There was that, but wherever you go, there you are. No matter what, wherever you go, you're there. The same you. It's not good news, folks. All right, I don't know what else to try. I'm going to get back in therapy. And I'm going to apply for disability. Over the next 3 years, I worked really hard to try and get better through traditional mental health facilities. Found a therapist that I really liked, went to a psychiatrist, and we started trying medications again. Told my therapist things that I had never told anybody before and will never tell anybody again, and really tried to bare my soul and figure out how to at least get back to the same amount of functioning that I had in my 30s. I wasn't looking for miracles. I was just looking to be able to work and maybe have a friend or two. Once again, none of the medication worked. I was referred to group therapy. I did like DBT stuff for a while. None of that helped. Eventually, my therapist, who I just loved so much, and I do think she helped me a little bit, because I would literally like get on the floor and beg her, please, Martha, can you please just explain to me, why can't I do things I want to do? Why can't I do things I need to do? Why can I scream at myself and feel all of this angst and confusion and frustration and know that I could fix all of that if I just got up and did something? Can you please just explain it to me? Why can't I do it? And she was never really able to explain the why of it, except to explain that I had a combination of, trauma, and that I had probably also been born with some sort of chemical imbalance, and that it ultimately was just a thing that was. And you cannot blame the person without an arm for not having the capability that people with 2 arms have any more than you can blame you for the fact that you cannot do the things that you want and need to do on a regular and consistent basis. I don't hate myself as much as I did. I want to make it really clear that for anybody that's watching that might deal with this same sort of mental health thing, I don't feel about you the way that I feel about myself. I fully understand why you can't do the things that you want to do. And I fully understand how hard it is for you. And I am so sorry. And there is nothing wrong with you. And you are not a drain on society. You belong here. You are supposed to be here. Just by virtue of being a human being, you deserve dignity and respect and love, and I want to give that to you. But for whatever reason, it is much more difficult to give that to ourselves than it is to give to somebody else. So while anybody else in my situation, I would say you are a lovely human being who deserves love and respect, for me, it is just not as easy to say that. For me, I feel like the crap on the bottom of society's shoe. And that is something I think I'll probably always deal with. But I think Martha did help me get a little better about that and feel a little more like maybe it's not all my fault. Maybe it's that I'm sick and that I should have a little more patience and love for myself, the same that I would have for anyone else. So I do think she did that. But then there came a day where she got another job and she went to work somewhere else. And so she couldn't be my therapist anymore. And I never heard from her again. I fully do understand that you have to have patient-therapist relationship and that you have to have boundaries and that you have to have that separation. And so this is not me like dogging therapists, because I fully understand, like, I could never do your job. I feel people's feelings entirely too much. That would destroy me. I'm just saying from a patient's point of view, we give you our everything with the hopes that we can get better, and we develop a relationship with you. And for some of us, having relationships is really, 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 really hard. But we let ourselves have that relationship with you, and then when it's over, and it's just over, and you never even like wonder what's going on with me, or maybe you do, but you certainly can't tell me that you wonder about it. And so in my mind, I'm just gone to you. I thought we were so close. Which I know now is so silly, because like I was just a client. So I don't know why it hurt so bad, but it really, really, really did. And none of the medication had worked, and I still wasn't able to do anything even after the 2 years that I spent with her. So I give up on traditional mental health stuff. I just can't. It's not in me to do that. I can't go through that again. Editing me again. It's like you get 2 videos in one. I realized that after telling you about the second round with traditional mental health, I didn't ever give you like what the final diagnosis supposedly was. That's because I didn't really get them. I really did get a lot of different things thrown around, but I think in the end, the thing that like most of my medical treatment folks agreed on was major chronic depression, ADHD, and possible bipolar 2. So those are the diagnoses I'm going with now. They fit close dang enough. And around similar timing, after 3 years of trying to get on disability, sending them, doctor's letters saying I needed it, my psychiatrist letter saying that I needed it, and my therapist wrote a 3-page letter begging them to give it to me. Oh my gosh, please, this girl really needs help. Please give it to her. Getting it denied and appealing and getting denied and appealing. It didn't matter how much evidence I presented. Didn't matter what my medical professionals said about me. After 3 years, I had a hearing with the judge. The judge spent 15 minutes with me, decided that I was okay. He denied me the disability. So I knew that help wasn't coming. It was maybe around that time that I did have a bit of a miracle, and I received an inheritance, mineral rights from some oil fields in Texas. There's a lot of weird mixed up feelings in that, because I have a bit of trouble with the oil industry. I don't think that it is good for us at all. I don't love the fact that I am doing anything that's part of that industry. I am receiving a few $100s a month from that. I don't know how long that's going to last, and it's very up and down how much it is, and it's certainly nowhere near enough to pay for everything, but it did come at a time when I needed it so much. And so there is a part of me that wonders almost if I don't have, a guardian angel out there or two. But even between that and the other sources of income and my savings, it barely kept us afloat. And eventually I ran out of my savings. And that's when I lost the apartment. And so we sold just about everything we owned, packed the rest that we could fit into my little 4-door sedan, and drove back across the country to California so that my daughter could live with her dad and be well taken care of. And she is being well taken care of. And out of whatever else happens, I am just so grateful for that. Her dad is really a good dad. He's a loving, good, present father, and he loves her so much, and he takes really good care of her. And she is doing really well because she's with a parent that can do things, that can take her out and do things. She's doing really, really, really well, so much better than she did with me. And while that is very difficult to admit, I'm also really, really grateful for it. Just to know that she's okay. But I still have to be here. And I am in the van, and I am somehow making YouTube work. Kind of. I did promise that I was going to be doing 3 things a week on YouTube, and immediately broke that promise. I laugh, but it's actually not funny. It's actually, I'm really sorry about that. I just need to be honest with you in that I will put out as much content as I possibly can. I'm still the same person that I was before I left the sticks and bricks. I'm still having a lot of days that I can barely function, that I am very deep in the well. The well is my default. But I am not a snake, and I will continue every single time to climb out, just like good old Bill Murray. I will drag myself out, and then I will look at the sun, and I will feel the breeze on my face, and I will enjoy those days, however long they last. Every day that I am out of the well, I will be here with you, and I will be so, so grateful for the opportunity to do so. Unfortunately, I cannot promise how many of those days I get. If there's nothing else I've learned over the last few years, it's that I genuinely cannot force it. I just can't. I will do what I can do when I can do, because I love you, and I love this. I love filming. I love editing. I hope that this explains a little bit what I mean when I refer to my brain bugs. I don't want to be constantly bringing, going into big explanations. I mean, it'll get tiresome to hear about. It gets tiresome to live it. So it'll just be so much easier if I could just say, oh, that's one of my bugs, and then move on. And I am hoping that that's what this video will do for me. It will explain how the brain bugs ate my brain, why they glitch me out so often, but then not have to, sort of spend a lot of time on it. I guess that's all I wanted to say, and I just thank you so much for listening to it. I really hope that I can edit this down to something that is lower than 30 minutes long. I love you. Bye.